Now we come to value judgments. You'll remember that value judgments are when you state something as if it were a fact. It's good to use value judgments when you're coaching, and it's important to direct your client's thinking in this way. It's wonderful to know that you're able to use value judgments. So you may say things like, it's good to keep practicing. Value judgments allow you to make more resourceful suggestions to your client. Or you could say, it's important to use different styles when leading your team. And you'll note it's easy to make these suggestions and at the same time direct the client to fill in the gaps about different styles. It's critical to learning to practice these things right away. So please write down 3 sentences using value judgments that you may say to someone you're coaching. Next, we have cause effects. These are where the cause of something is put outside the person. If you're using cause effect, then you'll want to use words like because, in order to, makes, if ... then, and as ... then. And because you're learning these language patterns, you'll find having an impact so much more easy. And cause effect is one that if you use it, then you'll notice how much you can progress with your client. And as you're beginning to get used to these patterns, you are probably already thinking about sentences you can use in coaching. For example, because you're finding new ways to motivate yourself, then you'll be able to have much greater impact in the work that you do. When you use that with a client, then they will have to go searching for new ways they've found to motivate themselves and go searching for the greater impact it will have on the work that they do. Because you've done that, they will be finding answers from their own model of the world, not having to use ones that are imposed on from your model. Or you could say, as you're moving into this new project, then you'll be keen to contribute all your strengths to ensure it succeeds. Using cause effects in this way makes your client think about all the strengths that they can bring to the project. Because he's doing that, then just how much more successful do you think he'll be? In order to ensure your success, then you may like to practice these sessions too. So please write down 3 sentences you might use in coaching to help your client, using cause-effect language patterns. Moving on to complex equivalence means that you're beginning to realize just how flexible you're becoming in how you use language. If you remember, complex equivalents are where, in someone's mind, one thing means something else. And in order to use this type of language means you'll want to use the word means or anything with the verb to be in it. And your ability to use these patterns is a sign of your progress. Having examples means it's much easier to learn how to do these patterns, so here are 2. You may say to your client, doing things this way means you'll surprise yourself as to how much you can achieve. Or you might say, being aware of all the different approaches means you'll have greater choice open to you in the future. And using the verb to be, you may say, you are open to learning in a remarkable way. And that makes you and open to learning equivalent. So your progress means it's time to practice complex equivalence. So as you have with other language patterns, please write down 3 complex equivalents that you could use. Now we come to modal operators, and the first one is modal operators of necessity. You must already realize from the last session that modal operators of necessity suggest that the person is motivated out of necessity. So the words that you will want to use are words like should or shouldn't, or must or mustn't, or got to or have to. So you have to be proud that you're already this far through the coaching skills module and are now learning things like modal operators of necessity. And with these modal operators, you have to appreciate just how powerful they are when you match them to someone's motivation pattern. So what sort of examples should you be using? Well, on the slide you have two. The first one, you should be delighted how little you have to practice before you're using this new strategy automatically. Or the second one is, you shouldn't be surprised at how quickly you get different results. You've got to understand the value of practice so that they become second nature. So here is the exercise once again. Write down 3 sentences that you could use to help a client using modal operators of necessity. So now we come to modal operators of possibility, and these are to do with whether someone believes something is possible or not. You'll want to listen out for words like can, can't, could, couldn't, will, won't, would, wouldn't, it's possible. You will be delighted at the results using these sort of language patterns. And you can't imagine how much they'll support your clients, can you? Because you would be glad to support your clients using such powerful language. And it's possible that just one of the patterns is the one to give your client that aha moment that will make all the difference to them. So you could ask for examples of using these modal operators, and here are 2. You could wonder at how effective you may become when you can use your new insights. Or another example is, you'll be delighted how confident you can feel when you focus on how possible it is for you to move forward. These are powerful and really resourceful suggestions to make to your clients. And you could decide that mastering these patterns will give you the edge in being able to help your clients. So here again, you can easily practice by writing down 3 statements using modal operators of possibility you could use with the client. Next, we have universal quantifiers. If you remember, these, along with the modal operators, fit into the generalization category. This is when something is generalized out to include every one or all occasions. And to use them, you'll want to use words like all, every, never, everyone, no one, etc. So every time you're coaching and you want to generalize out what you're saying to all situations, you can use universal quantifiers. All the language patterns will help you every time you're coaching, and so you will never be without a way of helping someone to find their own solutions. So, just in case you haven't already heard some examples, here are some more. Every bit of you will be wondering about all the ways in which you can make the best use of every opportunity. Or another example is, no one will know more than you how completely determined you will be in approaching milestones. Every time you practice these, the easier and easier they get. So once again, write down 3 sentences using universal quantifiers you may use as a coach. You may find now that you have the motivation to move on to nominalizations. So nominalizations are where verbs or doing words have been turned into nouns or things. Nominalizations will often have the impact of making something appear more solid and concrete. So I wonder how the discovery of the power of the utilization of language patterns will give you the realization of the importance of language in coaching. Examples of using nominalizations would be, the more motivation you have, the more you will have that focus and those solutions that you're looking for. The nominalizations in that sentence are motivation, focus, and solutions. Another example would be, with all the consideration you've put into this, you may find yourself in amazement at the connection you now make in the team. Have you spotted the nominalizations in that sentence? Well, they are consideration, amazement, and connection. The consolidation that you'll want will come from practice. So as before, please write 3 sentences using nominalizations. Now we come on to the deletions and start with simple deletions. Simple deletions are where information is left out. And every single sentence has deletions in it. So these ones we use all the time. Here are 2 examples. You are comfortable now, aren't you? Or you can, can't you? So as a coach, if you use those sentences, the other person has to fill in the gaps about whether they're comfortable or not, and about what they're comfortable. And in the second one, they have to fill in the gaps about what they can or can't do. Now, you know what's coming next, don't you? So get writing. 3 sentences using simple deletions. Then we have lack of referential index. That's where the thing that's being talked about is not specified. Examples of this are, you'll be astounded about how people will respond. Or, one can move forward, can't one? So in those sentences, your client will have to fill in the gap about who people are, or who the one is that can move forward. It's incredible how one can realize just how accomplished one will be in bringing in these patterns. So now it's time to practice. 3 sentences again, please. And the final pattern is the comparator, which is when someone is comparing themselves to someone or something else. Have you begun to think about how much more elegantly you'll be using language patterns? And maybe you've even realized how much better you will be at helping people change. Here are some examples of comparators. And as you're sitting there thinking about this, you may come to realize how much better you've already become about taking action. Or you could use it in this way. Answering these questions means you're becoming more and more practiced and getting the best from the situation. So using comparators, you want to use words like better, best, more, enough. And I'm wondering if you're imagining right now the impact of the Milton model language patterns in helping people come up with their own answers, and how much you'll help your clients achieve the result. And each time you use them, you'll become even more confident. So to help you with that, please write down 3 sentences using the comparator. And here is the last exercise. Using each of the language patterns, write a talk which you could deliver that would inspire and motivate a team to be engaged in a new project they're embarking on.